Introducing Light Vehicle Classroom, Electude's flagship product for automotive training. Electude Classroom is designed to be a total training solution for college automotive training programs. Built on the foundation of Electude's Automotive Essentials and Essentials Plus products, Electude Classroom is comprised of hundreds of interactive theory lessons and quizzes, engine management simulator with over 50 unique vault scenarios, hundreds of new lab activities aligned to ASE standards, hybrid and electric vehicle, as well as advanced driver assist content with expanded ebook feature. Exclusive classroom features include how-to video lessons to accompany the ASE lab activities, chapter tests, ASE test prep for areas A1 through area A8, teacher resources that include presentations, Kahoot assessments, and detailed teacher lesson plans. All this in addition to Electude's teacher analytic tools and fully customizable DIY tool, providing a well-rounded and total automotive training solution. Having explained core features, let's take a closer look at Electude Classroom from a teacher login. We are logged in as a teacher, and we're looking at LV Classroom AST Mast. What you'll find on the inside is content aligned to ASE topics from A0 fundamentals all the way down to L3 electric drive. For our larger areas like electricity and engine performance, you'll see that we have that subdivided into two separate courses. Altogether, Classroom is comprised of over 3,400 individual content items. For today's demonstration, we're going to take a deep dive into Electricity Electronics 1, comprised of 413 individual content items, about 108 hours worth of training. We've opened Classroom A6 Electricity Electronics 1, and what you'll find is Electude has arranged content into nice convenient chapters. For today's demonstration, we're going to open up Chapter 2, Electrical Measurement Tools, comprised of 40 content items and about 6 hours worth of training. Chapter 2 is subdivided into theory, quizzes, practical applications, tests, and instructor resources. Let's begin by taking a look at the theory content. What learners will see toward the top of the page is View eBook button. The ebook is a very nice experience for students. They can simply scroll through the content. There's a nice text-to-speech feature. Just simply highlight the text, then click the Listen button to have it read out loud. Students can also navigate through the ebook by clicking on the topics over here to the left-hand side. And should they wish to start an interactive e-learning lesson, they can do so from right inside the ebook. Next, let's take a look at one of the e-learning lessons. We'll open Ammeter, which is about a 10-minute lesson. Normally, you're going to find an interactive animation over to the left. Area in gray is informative text. On purpose, Electude sometimes will leave information out of this area because they want the learner to learn the same information through interaction with the graphic. This first question is a good example. It says set the meter to measure direct current. Nowhere in the text above is that explained. So students have to figure this out through a process of trial and error. So for example, they might set this rotary dial to 20 volts and hit check. Well, they don't have it set correctly, but we don't leave them stranded. We give them a guided feedback statement to kind of push them in the right direction. So we're telling the learner here they need to move the amp lead over to the amp socket. They hit check again. Now they got to set the rotary dial to amperes. Hopefully they'll see that blue A there and move that down to amperes and hit check again. Now we got one last thing here, the AC-DC selector switch. So this is a very unique learning experience where students are allowed to do some reading, but also interact with the graphic and learn through this process of trial and error and discovery with these guided feedback statements to kind of push them in the right direction. Now, from the teacher login, you have the ability to go through the lesson without answering the questions. There's also a handy little answer key button down here in the lower right hand corner. Just click the little magic wand and it'll show you what the correct answer is. Another interesting feature from the teacher login is the presentation mode. By clicking this little screen icon, it will shove all the text off the page, center your animation, and now you have an interactive graphic that you can teach off of. So it's fully interactive in every sense of the way. We can manipulate the switch up here at the top, we can manipulate our meter, and we can make and remove the fuses, and we can make a current measurement. To return to normal viewing, we just collapse the view, and now we're right back to the e-learning. There is a text-to-speech feature here in the e-learning as well, and it'll read the text from top to bottom. We'll exit the lesson, and we'll go back to Chapter 2, Electrical Measurement Tools. Okay, let's take a quick look at the quiz folder. So for every interactive e-learning lesson, there's a short summative quiz. We'll open Ammeter. You'll notice there's not very many questions, but these all come from the e-learning. Just as in the lesson, there is an answer key here for the teacher. Typically, you will not find any interactive graphics in the quiz. The whole purpose of the lesson is for practice and learning. The quiz is to gauge the student's knowledge. We'll back out of the quiz and we'll go back to Chapter 2. Let's take a look at practical applications. One of the distinguishing features of Classroom is the addition of these how-to video lessons. So let's open one up and see what they're like. Unlike the theory content that uses interactive graphics, Electude felt that the best way to communicate repair and diagnostic processes was through a video. But instead of playing like a 15 or 20-minute video in its entirety with questions at the end, Electude broke up the video into these short little snippets of information with questions in between. So the student can watch a little video, answer a question or two, and then when they progress and move on to the next page, the video will continue. You'll notice that it is closed caption, and students have the ability to go full screen. Oftentimes, teachers will use these how-to video lessons either in front of the class or maybe even out in the shop as a supplement to a hands-on demonstration. To close the full screen view, we just click the little box and it returns to normal viewing. From the teacher login, the answer key is also functional in these how-to videos. Very nice, clear graphics. In all, this is probably like a 15 or 20-minute video that's broken up into these short segments. From inside the how-tos, the student can also go back to the ebook, which is a nice feature. We'll back out of this particular how-to to give you a sense of how many of these there are within the product. We're going to transition for just a moment over to the Modules tab, and we're going to search for how-to. And you'll see there is a good number of these. These are all aligned to ASE. So many of our lab tasks will be associated directly with one of these how-to video lessons. So in this way, the learner can be exposed to performing the task before they go out into the lab. And Electude continues to build these how-to lessons. There's more being added all the time. I would say there's well over 100 within the product as of today. All right, let's go back to courses, practical applications, and this time we're going to have a look at one of Electude's digital labs, how to use a multimeter. This lab is tied to ASE Performance Indicator 6A5. We'll start module. I would describe the digital labs as like a guided work order with instructions. There's going to be a place here for students to notate the vehicle information. We also focus strongly on concern, cause, correction. Same kind of layout as our lessons and our quizzes. Only with these, it's obviously designed for use out in the lab, for students to document what they're doing out in the shop. There's going to be some very clear instructions in here as well. Not to replace service information, but to give that student more, like I said earlier, a guided work order experience. Any information that the student types in the boxes down below auto saves, so they're not going to lose anything. We'll just kind of go through a few pages here just so you kind of get a sense for these labs activities. When the learner reaches the last page of a lab, they would notate the cause and correction. There would be some follow-up questions or review. And then on the very last question of the last page, the learner would click Finish Task, and that would go to a special area for you, the teacher, called To Be Graded, where you could then either review each lab individually, or there is a quick grade feature allowing you, the teacher, to grade a whole group of students on an assignment very quickly and easily. So this is just an overview of one of our labs. If we go back to practical applications, you'll notice there is a PDF alternative. Should students not have access to computers out in the lab, they could open up one of the PDF labs and fill that out using paper pencil. While we're in the practical applications folder, let's take a quick look at the Electude simulator. Mostly you're going to find these in Engine Performance 1 and 2, although there is a sprinkling throughout Electrical 1 and 2. This particular fault is Electude Simulator, wire faulty, resistance between control module pin 37 and ground. Now it is important to recognize we are logged in as a teacher, and that's why we can see the actual fault description here. Students would only see Electude Simulator vehicle inoperative. Once students have the simulator open, you'll notice we have a fully interactive vehicle here. We can zoom in and out on the vehicle. You can remove these parts. There's a work order. We have a host of tools here, including instrument panel, multimeter, diagnostic system, breakout box, fuel pressure gauge, jump starter box, wiring diagram, work order, invoice, some video tutorials to help students learn how to use these tools. Just real quickly, we'll just demonstrate cranking the engine. You can see that it's not starting. I'm also not seeing an RPM. We'll just quickly check what kind of codes we have here in our diagnostic system. And you can see we got a communication fault here. So a very interesting way for students to learn diagnostics through over 50 of these engine simulator faults sprinkled throughout engine performance and electrical 1 and 2. That rounds out the practical applications area containing the lab tasks, how-to videos, and simulator. We're going to go back to chapter 2 and we're going to take a look at the chapter test. Every chapter has a summative test based on the information that the student learned through the e-learning as well as the e-book. Typically, there's going to be about 20 questions in each of these chapter tests. Just as with the lessons and the how-to videos, the answer key also works here from the teacher login. Going back to chapter 2, we're going to round this presentation out by talking about instructor resources. So within instructor resources, there's going to be a lesson plan in both Word and PDF, a presentation, and a Kahoot assessment. Let's open up the PDF lesson plan. It'll start out here with giving some basic vocabulary, what ASC tasks are going to be covered, some ideas for teacher-led activities, presentations. It also includes activities from some of our partner products in here, like for example, if you should purchase MotoLogic as an add-on. But every chapter has these lesson plans, and it gives teachers ideas on how to use the classroom product. We'll back up here, go back to instructor resources, and let's look at the presentation. The presentation contains all the graphics from the entire chapter, both e-learning and e-book. And this allows the teacher then to kind of summarize what the students learned in the chapter. I particularly find these presentations useful as a chapter review prior to the students taking the chapter test. The teacher can quickly go through these graphics and simulations and have a discussion with their class. As with the lessons, there is a presentation mode here as well that the teacher can use to explain what's being done. Back to instructor resources. Lastly, we have a Kahoot assessment. This will require a free Kahoot account, but what's interesting about these is there is a Kahoot for every chapter, so there's hundreds of these, and it serves as an excellent way to have a interactive review with your class prior to taking the chapter test. Lastly, we're going to take a look at Electude Classroom from the student's perspective. We are logged in as a student, and as you can see, there are 2 chapters assigned from our Brakes content area. Let's take a deep dive into Chapter 5, Braking System Hydraulics. What's nice about Classroom from the student's perspective is they get a progress bar here at the top that shows them how they're doing as they're progressing through the chapter. When they open up the theory folder, there's the ebook experience and the interactive lessons. We can open up the ebook. And from inside here, we can start the module. Click on the master cylinder to open it. Brake fluid reservoir, primary piston, secondary piston, pressure pin, replenishing port, brake circuit, vent ports, cup seals. Unlike the teacher account, students cannot progress until they get the question right. So as you can see here, I cannot advance to page 2. I have to get this question just right before it allows me to move on. Going back out of the lesson, let's take a quick look at going back to chapter 5. We have the quiz folders. So there's 2 quizzes for this chapter. Progress bar at the top. Practical applications. They have the PDF labs, the how-to videos, as well as the labs. Here you can see the performance indicators assigned to each lab. So as you can see from the student's perspective, it's a much more simple layout. Instructor resources, they are not able to open that, although they will see that folder. This concludes the presentation of Electude Light Vehicle Classroom. If you wish to trial Electude Light Vehicle Classroom or any of our other products, please go to electude.com/US and click on the free trial button. Thank you for watching.